Life as a chessboard. The question that led me to write this was this: how is it I can say I know what is good and evil in this world without actually knowing what good and evil are? I think that nearly all of us know the difference between right and wrong, whether this is to do with our cultural upbringing and life experience, or whether it is an inner moral compass, I do not know. But I do believe that as grown adults, deep down, we all know what good and evil are. So I got to thinking, even though I know what good and evil are, as in what behaviours produce certain outcomes, I really don't know what good and evil actually are in and of themselves. So time to pay it some thought. What are good and evil? In order to categorise something like that, we are going to have to determine their ultimate goals. Being alive, I have to assert that life, although it certainly contains a great deal of evil, is fundamentally good. It is the eternal struggle against the inevitability of death. None of us would be alive today if we had not been surrounded by other humans who also believed this and raised us from the time of our most vulnerable infancy. So, if being alive is good, its opposite, death, must be bad. I know that we certainly feel immense pain when a loved one passes. If this is true, the reason why life is greater than death is that life always struggles. It always tries to exert effort towards further life, which is to oppose death. And whilst life exists, it is indeed greater than death, although in the totality of time, death always awaits. In this sense, life is noble. It will always attempt to stand against what seems like innumerable infinite odds. So death is evil? Perhaps, but let us take a slightly different perspective for a second. If I could see beyond the veil of life, if I could say with some degree of certainty that all of the near-death experiences I have listened to are true, then perhaps this view of death as evil would be incorrect. Perhaps life, although fundamentally good itself, is another chessboard on which good and evil duke it out. A good in which evil is permitted to wield its temptations and consequences in order for good to overcome them. If this is the case, and death in itself is not truly evil, but merely a rule of life, whereby the piece is removed from the board, then what is the objective of evil? What does evil gain by being permitted to win the chessboard? I know that a lot of what would be considered immoral behaviour results in death. But maybe evil's objectives are more than this. Perhaps its objectives are not merely to end life, but to prolong and maximise suffering in the greatest depths possible. After all, is it more evil to decapitate someone, ending their life, or to starve them for weeks before torturing them and finally slowly decapitating them? I think we can all agree on that one. The torture is clearly more evil and produced a greater amount of evil in reality. Still, I will say that I think evil's ultimate goal is first the defeat of goodness and then the defeat of life itself. To move life into death, so there is no more life, no more board, no more game, regardless of whether death itself is actually evil or not, or just a rule by which they play. Let us use the chessboard analogy once again. The chessboard is good because it is something, not nothing. Both good and evil are permitted to play here, which would not be the case if it were not good. This is because in order for good to be good, it must permit evil to play, in order to prove it can overcome it and thus be good. If evil wins, it will have taken the board, something good, out of existence, and therefore it can no longer be challenged there, and because it is not good, it will never ask good to play again. Life is the chessboard, and within life there are many other chessboards, one each in our human minds. So let us now look at ourselves. I believe because we are alive we have created a chessboard in ourselves on which good and evil can play. Remember, the board is fundamentally good to start with because it is alive. It is something rather than nothing. We may not be in control of the greater game of chess that is life in general, but we are completely in control of the game that occurs within our own minds. Over the course of our lifetime, we get to choose whether good or evil wins the board within our heads. As a child, you learn how to play this game from influence. As an adult, you still have influence cast upon you, but you are now responsible for your decisions, all of them. If you don't wish to grow up, evil will take advantage of your lack of effort. And the game that you win or lose in your own mind will affect others. I believe the chessboard of life is a test. It is a test to see where you will place the pieces. No one has a perfect game, but some better than others. Good and evil are the unending opposing patterns that you must learn how to recognize in order to become a better player. You will learn more patterns depending on which direction you decide to play in, making you a greater player for either good or evil. So to conclude the question that started all of these thoughts, what do I think good and evil actually are? I think they are the forces that infinitely oppose one another, and forces that know each other as intimately as is possible. They both seek to overcome each other in life and our minds for eternity, but good only has to lose once, which is what makes life so precious. We start as fundamentally good because we are alive and life is good. We are put to the test by the good of the game to see if each and every one of us will choose to play for either good or evil. Good and evil are infinite powers that we can control whilst alive. Choose life, choose good. Win the game with effort. Right, well, there is my chessboard analogy of life. I wrote this book, which is sort of my philosophical perspective, although I have named it A Short and Simple Religion for Atheists, Agnostics and Believers. You don't have to buy this if you don't want to, because I'm going to tell you basically the overarching principle of all the thought that's contained in that book, which is a prayer or a focus of intent for atheists, which I recite every day. And it's improved my mind no end, especially when I've been directly opposed or tempted to make evil or easy decisions. This has really helped, and also I've noticed in the subconscious realm, so my dreams too, now this affirmation is coming in and helping me make wise decisions there too. So it's this: I pray to all the good without and within, that I can make wise and honest decisions today which further the betterment of good everywhere. And I truly mean that. Yes, saying that every single morning. And if you want to look a bit more behind the thoughts of what led me to that conclusion and why it's a good thing and why it has improved my life, you can buy a copy of that, although you're certainly not obligated to. Anyway, let me know what you think about the old chessboard analogy of life, because I could be wrong. I could be wrong about it all, and you could be the one to tell me I'm wrong and what bits I'm wrong about, or you could further any of the ideas here. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time.